Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to Behind the Bib. I'm your host, Lisa Watkins, and I am delighted to be with you all this afternoon, this evening, this middle of the night, this middle of the long run. First and foremost, thank you all of you guys who have liked, followed, subscribed, or shared the podcast, and especially those of you who have downloaded and shared it. Every single interaction helps me get this little show to reach more runners just like you and me. And I love hearing from you. So keep those comments coming in, those DMs. I'm starting to see lots of interaction and engagement on these posts. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Y'all, this last weekend, I did the most amazing race. It's called the Halloween Hustle in Conway, South Carolina. This race was awesome from beginning to end. I saw it on TikTok and I just thought, I signed up. Well, I'm just going to say it. I'm kind of a medal whore, like I'm in it for the hardware, and their medals were so stinking cute. So I hit up the Run Buddies. I was like, yo, y'all up for a road trip to Conway, South Carolina? It's about 9-ish hours away from Huntsville. And they were like, sure, I'm down for it. So we had a fabulous weekend, and I cannot wait to tell you all about it. I'm going to break down the course, where to stay, what to eat, where not to eat, and exactly why this race deserves a spot on your fall racing calendar next year. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, let me start with race morning. Actually, let me back up. Okay, I'm going to back up because, like I said, Conway, South Carolina is about 9 hours from Huntsville. So that's a pretty solid drive, right? We got into the expo, and for y'all, for such a small race, the expo was really quite cute. The packet pickup was seamless. They had the shirts ready to go. You checked in, you showed them your ID, they gave you your packet. They had a few vendors set up there, so if you forgot your gels, if you forgot your shoes, if you forgot your chicken legs, any of that stuff, you could pick up extra items there at the expo. It wasn't a huge expo, but it was, but they had offerings there, which I totally didn't expect. They also had free ice cream outside for the first 100 people to pick up their packets. Now, we didn't roll in until 30 minutes before packet pickup ended. Oh, well, I guess it was about an hour before packet pickup ended. So, Expo was great. They did a fantastic job. It was super simple. They had a big blow up. You could take pictures there with it, with the little handheld, signs and stuff like that. What are those things called? Photo props. The props. They had little props there for everybody to hold up. So it was super cute. Okay. Expo's great. Now let's start talking about the race day. So it was a whole experience, and I'm going to tell you all about it. We got there early. The emails, first and foremost, they did a fantastic job communicating this whole time. You signed up, you got emails. You're 2 weeks out. You got emails reminding you about parking and where to stay and all this stuff. The night before the race, you got another email. So it was fantastic. Just right when people were looking for the information, they were sending it out. So great job. I do need to mention that this race is put on by I think it's probably a for-profit race company called Coastal Race Productions. I'm not going to hold that against them, though, because they do a great job, and they didn't skimp on any of the things in an effort to make more profit. So hats off, Coastal Race Productions, because we had a fabulous time. You put on a fabulous race. It was a win-win all the way around. Okay, so now let me tell you about the race. Okay, so they sent out communications that said, get there earlier than you think you need to. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe traffic or parking is a thing. What I didn't realize is that Conway, South Carolina goes all out for Halloween. Y'all would not believe. I'm telling you, decorations everywhere, not like chintzy little decorations. Entire buildings were themed out. Entire alleyways were themed into experiences. They went all out. The race started at 7 a.m. So we arrived at 6:30, right? It's not super early, but not late either. And so we park and we get out and we start walking around and we're like, oh my God, look down that alleyway. These huge 12-foot tall skeletons. They were all different kinds. They were lining the alleyways and there was these whole experiences and everything. And see, it was still dark when we got there. And so all of the lights were showing up. And so we got 100% lost in the whole vibe. We got there. Even their town water tower was lit up orange, purple, and green. And so now I know why they say get there earlier than you think you should, because you get sucked into like taking pictures of all the decorations in the trees. Everywhere you looked, there was something else to look at. And if you're a Halloween fan like me, it was just fantastic, right? So the entire start area was lit up with all kinds of stuff, with all kinds of decorations everywhere. Giant inflatables, glowing pumpkin string like spider webs, so many spiders, so many giant spiders, like huge 10 feet wide spiders. Anyway, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Calm down, Lisa. Okay, the point of this is all to say we got there early, but it wasn't early enough because we spent way too long taking pictures and getting excited and everything, because we realized, I think running buddy Christy looked at the clock and was like, y'all, the race starts in 5 minutes. I think she said 5 minutes. 5 minutes, but which wouldn't have been a problem. But we didn't know where the start line We didn't know where the start line was. We parked way far away from the start line, apparently. And I didn't do my diligent homework on where exactly to park. We just took like a first available, and we were like, oh, this is perfect. We're got to be super close, right? We weren't super close, and we ended up having to run to the start line. And then we got to the start line. We came down the chutes. Anyway, we finally got lined up for the start of the race. You will not believe how much time we had left. We had 30 seconds before the race started. We're like, great, just a little adrenaline shot to start the race. It was fine. It was totally fine. It all worked out, right? But anyway, the mix of chaos and excitement, it really set the tone perfectly. Fun, high energy, and just a little spooky. Nothing that would scare the kids. It wasn't crazy spooky like that. But it was really super cute. Okay, so that's how we start the day. Okay, we're sprinting to the start line. Let's talk about the race overview in general. Okay, the Halloween hustle takes place in Conway, South Carolina, this charming little historic town just outside of Myrtle Beach. So it's really kind of considered a coastal town. They go all in for this event with costumes, decorations, and volunteers who totally fully commit to the Halloween theme. This race offered 3 distances and then a challenge. And the challenge medal is what got me. They set the hook on TikTok, because when I show you these medals, they are fantastic. I can't wait to show you. Anyway, so the race had 3 distances. It had a 1 mile, a 5K, and then a 10K. And if you did all of 3, you get the challenge medal, right? So the course winds around down through Conway's historic streets and then along the boardwalk of their Riverwalk, which I didn't expect this. As you're running the finish of the 10K and of the 5K and of the 1 mile, you're running down this boardwalk, and they have done this whole boardwalk. I don't know. It wasn't quite a mile that we ran on the boardwalk. It was probably maybe a half mile at the most that we run on the boardwalk. But the entire boardwalk is done up in all spider webs, and they had animatronic Halloween decorations. And then when you look out across the river, they even have skeletons hanging from the trees over the river. They have stuff in the water. It's everywhere you look, there were more decorations. And I was so thankful that the 1 mile, the 5K, and the 10K were all on the same course, because you got to run specific parts of the course several times. And each time we ran it, we saw something else. And we're like, oh my God, I didn't see that. Oh my God, I didn't see that. Anyway, it was great. So the course ran along this historic town. It had some rolling hills, but not like so many that you blew your legs out or anything like that. Each race started in with the same start line. They finished with the same finish line. The only thing that was different was, of course, the 5K cut off some of the 10K course, and then the 1 mile cut off some of the 5K course. So I did notice that spectators had a very easy time seeing their runners. There was lots of great signs. I just love the hometown race feeling where you have the little kids, they're out there, dad's got the kids and mom's running the race and they're holding the signs and they're like, go mommy, go. And I mean, I just love the whole spirit, the whole vibe. It's just sweet and wholesome and all good things. And that part was so fantastic. The organizers, I will have to say, so Coastal Race Productions, I've never done one of their races. And if you've listened to some of my previous episodes, that hometown half marathon in Atlanta, Georgia was straight out of utter hell, put on by Body's Race Company. I didn't know what to expect with Coastal Race Productions, but it turned out fantastic. Everything that the hometown half marathon wasn't, the Halloween hustle was. Volunteers knew all of the things, where to go, all of the setup. Everything was so well marked. The communication even leading up to the race, through email, through all of their social media channels. The course itself had very well marked. They had cones, they had signs with arrows, words and arrows. Even there's parts of the course where it's just go straight, sign for go straight, don't turn. And I was like, fantastic. You never felt lost or alone. They had, for the 10K and the 5K, they both had the same hydration aid station, and even for these small races, they had Gatorade and they had water. So fantastic, right? And they offered that multiple ways, and it was super easy for the runners to pick up. Lots of volunteers there handing out the cups. They didn't just leave it on the table like some other races I've seen. Anyway, hats off to Coastal Race Productions. I didn't know what to expect for this, and we had a great time. Honestly, from the start to the finish, there's not one single thing that I would have changed about this race. Well, maybe I can't even say that. I can't even say that I would have it closer to Huntsville, because Conway, South Carolina is all in on the Halloween theme. And it was just the whole experience together was what made it so stinking awesome, right? Okay, so I've already told you that I went and did this race for the medals. And so I'm going to spend some time telling you about the medals. For those of you that are just listening to me and not watching, this might be one of the episodes where you bring up the YouTube or you just watch it on the Spotify thing, because I'm going to be showing the medals. All right. Medal. Oh, here's another thing that I really like before I start showing the medal, was that they started with the largest distance, the biggest distance first, and then they did the 10K, then the 5K, then the 1 mile, which is unlike the Dopey Challenge, which you start off with the little, the smaller distances, and then you build up to the marathon. I think that way is harder than starting with the longest distance and getting shorter and shorter and shorter progressively, because you're that's the same reason that I love a ladder workout, where you do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or my favorite is just the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 workout, because it gets shorter and shorter each time. Anyway, that is all an aside. I just wanted to focus on, you started with the biggest distance first, the 10K, then the 5K, then the 1 mile. And so that's the order in which I'm going to show you the medals. Excuse any of the clanging, because these are behemoths, right? So I'm going to start with the 10K medal. So first and foremost, the lanyard, pretty hefty. The year, look at that. So Coastal Race Productions, for-profit race production, still puts the year on the lanyard, which means they do this every year. They don't reuse these medals. They do medals specific to the race every single year. So again, hats off. 10K race. And I wish I could turn the lights off because these glow in the dark. All right. So the 10K race has a pumpkin, and it's got the little vines of the pumpkin, and it's running along this purple pathway. There's like a spooky haunted house in the background. There's a witch flying through the air. There's a yellow moon behind the pumpkin with bats flying across the moon in silhouette. And then down at the bottom, it says 2025 Halloween Hustle. All right, so that's the 10K medal. And look how big it is. Like, that's my whole hand, y'all. It takes up my whole hand. Okay, that's medal number 1, the 10K. Medal number 2, the 5K. There were so many great costumes for the 5K, and for the Instagram post, you know how I post like the multiple different pictures on the carousel. I used a couple of the photos of some of my favorite costumes that we saw that day. So be sure to go over and check out the Instagram post because that was super. There's some really good costumes, but I just picked out 2 of my favorite groups. Okay, 5K medal. Again, 5K on the lanyard, and then the medal itself, a completely different design, but it's still on the theme. This one has like one of the gourds, and it's got like a spooky, it looks like maybe it's supposed to be like a zombie or a mummy or something like that, but the gourd is running out of a graveyard. And then you can see some of the graves in the background have hands poking up out of them. So like zombies coming up out of the graves. And then it says, again, there's a little roadway. The roadway is purple, and it says Halloween Hustle 2025. And then the 5K is down in the corner with spider webs on it. So super cute, right? So that's the 5K medal. And now let's look at the 1K, or 1K. Not 1K, 1 mile. So many folks lined up with the itty bitties to do this 1 mile run. It was so sweet. So this medal, you can see it's a little bit smaller, and I'm going to hold them all up together. This medal's a little bit smaller. It has a little pumpkin on it that has the sunglasses, and then it has a spooky little tree in the background that has the hanging Spanish. I think it's supposed to be Spanish moss, like in the South Carolina coastal area. You know, you have the Spanish moss hanging from all of the live oaks over there. But it also looks like Slimer ooze, like from Ghostbusters. It kind of has that look and feel to it. So, little bitty medal. It's not little bitty. I take that back. It's still a pretty good size. I've done other races that have had smaller medals than this, and this is just for their little 1 mile. Okay, so that's the 1 mile medal. And then finally, the piece de resistance. Look at the challenge medal. Oh my God, is that not awesome? Look how big this thing is. So first and foremost, that's my hand spread out. And the medal is larger than my hand spread all the way out. And across the top of the medal, so again, lanyard says 3 race challenge, 1 mile, 5K, and 10K. Date on the lanyard, 2025. It has the archway that you start under that says, "Welcome to Halloween Town." And so, if I didn't mention it earlier, Conway, South Carolina also goes by Halloween Town during the month of October, and they live up 100% to the name. Okay, so challenge medal. And for those of you that are just listening to me, this is a little skeleton. Well, he's not little. He's pretty big. It's a skeleton. It's a running skeleton. And then on his chest has the year 2025. He's running and he's holding a water bottle. The little top of the water bottle is a pumpkin. And then his arm actually moves, like his arm moves on the metal, and then his legs are attached so that they move on the metal as well. So it looks like the little skeleton is running. Okay. And you know what else was so super cool about this? So I'm going to hold these up side by side. Let me see if I can actually do this without like dropping everything. Because in order of size, they size the medals. You can see the 1 mile, the 5K, the 10K, and then the challenge medal. They're all graduated in size. Some of the best medals I have seen, like ever. And I'm so glad that I have them. No, it was so totally worth it. Anyway, the medals. So if you're wanting to look at the medals more in depth, I posted those all over my social media. So you guys can go out there and take a look at that. But the medals were not the only thing that were stinking cute about this race. So check out the shirt. This was the race shirt. You know how sometimes your race shirt is like the t-shirt, and then you can buy the quarter zip or the half zip with it? This is the race shirt, and it's a quarter zip. Is that what that's called? A quarter zip or a half zip? I think quarter zip, where it's just like at the neck. So this was the race shirt. And for those of you that are just listening, it is a long sleeve tech shirt in black, and down one sleeve, there's a whole like bone. The arm is printed on it, but it's like a skeleton arm instead of like the actual arm. And on the top bone, but on the top bone, your upper arm bone, it says Conway, South Carolina on the bone itself. And then on the race shirt, it says Halloween Hustle, 10K, 5K, 1 mile challenge. And it has like a skull and a pumpkin and all that stuff. And then down on the right-hand corner, it says 2025. Y'all, they put their year on the race shirt, right? Look at that. Isn't that cute? So you know they're not going to use them again because they put the year on it. I just love it when they do that. Anyway, not that between the medals and the shirt, that would be all, right? That in and of itself would be worth doing. Let me continue, though. Let me continue gushing over this race. Okay, so we after we did the race and everything, we went back to the hotel, we showered, we changed. Run Buddies went down to the beach for a little bit, experienced the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I'm not like a beach girl, so I was like, y'all can go. I'm not afraid of the water or anything. I'm just like, I've seen it. I've kind of done it, you know. It's fine. I'm more of a mountain person. Get me excited. Take me to Montana. You'll see a completely different Lisa. We went back. We got changed. We put on our race shirts, and then we wore them back downtown. And people kept asking and stuff like that about the race and all the stuff. And we were telling folks. It was so super cute. Okay, so I told you about the medals, told you about the shirt, told you about the course a little bit. Let's talk about how the course finished. Because if y'all remember from the race that I did in Dalton, is Chatsworth, Georgia, called the Teardrop Half Marathon, where they were like taking the finish line down and they had promised barbecue and all that stuff, and we didn't get any. Well, this race was the antithesis of that, because your bib had your food ticket on there, and then you had your beer ticket. So, and they didn't just have like PBR up there. They had hard apple ciders. They had like several different types of cold beverages. And even though they ran out of one of the hard apple ciders, they still had plenty of cold beverages for other folks to partake of, let's say. But the best thing by far, so it wasn't just a banana and water type situation. They had straight up barbecue with mac and cheese. Now, I do have to say you had to pick one. You could either have the barbecue or the mac and cheese, but I get it 100%. They had to make sure that everyone, they had enough for everyone. And I did see folks, like after everyone had gone through the line, folks were going back and say, hey, can I get a mac and cheese or a little barbecue if they didn't get that before? And they were 100% very sweet about it and let folks have as much as they wanted once everybody got served, which I thought, that's entirely fair, right? So, but the thing about it was really, really good. Like from somebody from the South that I spent plenty of time in Texas and I live in Alabama now, it was really good barbecue, but the mac and cheese, holy crap. I was not expecting the mac and cheese to be, first of all, I wasn't expecting macaroni and cheese. Second of all, I wasn't expecting it to be good. It was fantastic. For race food, it was fantastic. For sit-down restaurant food, it was fantastic. Not only did they have barbecue and mac and cheese, they had, y'all can tell I'm hungry as I'm recording this because I'm going all into this. But they had the barbecue and then the mac and cheese. And then on the side table, they had a whole assortment of sauces, from super mild sweet sauces to like set you ablaze sauces. And then depending on which sauce you like, they also sold the sauces there. So super smart marketing. I'm not sure who offered the food there, but that was very smart on their part. Okay, so post-race food, top notch. And so at the end, everybody's just sitting around. So you know how some races, everybody just clears all the way out, and you can tell a race has done a really good job when folks are just like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to hang out for a second. Folks were like hanging out. They were having their beer. They were having their barbecue and their mac and cheese and their bananas and hanging around and just having a good time. And then going around and taking pictures. They had the big Halloween Hustle blow up sign there. They had a PR bell even. And so all of the things together, it just spelled out a fantastic race weekend for me. Another thing that I liked was that this challenge you could do. So we just used it as our long run this weekend. We had a deload week. And so our long run was supposed to be like 8.5 miles. We ended up doing 10 by the time we did all of the races. But the 10K, the 5K, and the 1 mile, totally like within reach. And so there was lots of folks there that were doing the challenge. And it was great. I just have to say it was great. So if you are going to consider this race next year, which me and Run Buddies might go back and do this race. There's very few races that we have left and said, I would do that again. First race we did that with was Every Woman's Marathon. And lo and behold, we walked out and said, I would do that again. And we're turning around and doing it again this year. This is another one. You cannot see, I think it's like a trip to Disney World. You can't see everything on your first trip through. And there's things that you like find out. You're like, I'm going to stay there. Or, make sure to make reservations or whatever for the restaurants. So if we do this race again, there are some things that I'm going to like tweak, right? So first and foremost, we stayed, not knowing the area, we stayed down in the Myrtle Beach area, which is about 20 minutes away, super close. They had Marriott's. I'm like a Marriott girl. So they had Marriott's, and I thought, well, we'll just go down there and we'll stay over there. But on the race course, we ran right by the stinking cutest little Airbnb called the Cypress Inn. It was very cozy. It was very quiet. It was right on the water with the boats right outside the door. And then I'm thinking that this little place, the whole town goes all in for Halloween. I'm thinking they would go all in for the race as well, because you could literally just roll out the bed and to the start line. So here's the thing though, I don't think it was super huge. So if you're going to get a room there, you might book early. And that's one of the things we're going to look into if we decide to do this race next year. The other place, so we stayed at the Residence Inn in Myrtle Beach. So Myrtle Beach is a huge commercialized area. They have all of the options, like the Hilton options, the Myrtle Beach, the Marriott options, the IHG options. If you prefer a little bit more space and comfort, and they have the pools and the hot tubs and the workout rooms and the free breakfast and all that jazz. I do think, though, that I want to get like more into the feel of the small town Halloween town vibe next time and try to stay at the Cypress Inn or one of the other local Airbnbs, or not Airbnbs, but bed and breakfast, because the Cypress Inn was super awesome. It was right there by the race start. I thought that would be great. Okay, let's talk about my favorite subject besides running, and that's eating. The two seem to be related. After the race, we needed to get something real quick to eat. And so we went to the Trestle Bakery and Cafe I had been talking to some other runners. And thank you, ladies, by the way. I saw that y'all followed me on Instagram and all of the things. But I I'm so sorry. I can't remember your names, but we were sitting there and I was taking pictures with the medals and the skeleton and everything. So thank you so much for your recommendations because we went and did the things after you recommended them. So the Trestle Bakery and Cafe was wonderful. We got, let me see, I got the Reuben sandwich. I can't remember what Running Buddies got, but we got a couple of things. And even though they were kind of overwhelmed with the number of people that were sitting and waiting to get food, they never lost their patience. They hustled really fast and the food was very good. Okay, so the other place that was recommended was, I think it's called the Crafty Rooster. Now here's the thing. This town, it's a small town, like it's a little bitty. And when something like this happens, like the whole Halloween town vibe and the race and all that stuff, thousands of people come in and they will often overwhelm the infrastructure of the town that's not used to this many people. And we did experience that. So we had gone back to the hotel, got changed, got showered and everything, put on our race shirts to go back. Instead of like spending the evening in Myrtle Beach was like, okay. We decided we're going to go back to Conway and explore all of the other decorations and because the town just does such a phenomenal job. Lord, we did not know what we were in for because there were so many people. And like the first place we tried to get in, they were like 2.5 hour wait. Second place we tried to get in, 2.5 hour wait. Third place we got in, they were super not nice and they were like barking at us. And we were like, okay, thanks, bye. And then third place, we were like, no, fourth place, we're like, they're not even open and let's just get an Uber to someplace else. And here was the only downside of the entire weekend. First, Uber driver was kind of an asshole. It's not often that I say that about Uber drivers. I've taken Ubers and Lyfts 1,000 times in 1,000 different places. Usually it's fine. It's all fine. This one, however, was not. All of your experiences can't be good, and this one was a testament to that fact. This Uber driver was the only driver I've given 1 star. He deserved it. The other one was we went to this restaurant. We took an Uber from Conway to this restaurant that was halfway between Conway and Myrtle Beach. And the restaurant was called the Grumpy Monk. And by the time we left the restaurant, almost 2 hours later, we realized why it was called the Grumpy Monk. Because the service and the food, everything was atrocious. And I'm not a picky person. I'm a very patient person. I will sit and wait and wait and wait. And as long as the server, whatever, is like, I'm sorry, your ticket got lost, blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, they weren't like that at all. And this is one of the few places I don't think I've ever written a bad Google review. I just won't go there again. I'm actually going to write a review of this place because I think other people need to know how everything went down that night. And it wasn't just us. I was seeing it happen all around us, which gives me pause for reflection, right? So the Grumpy Monk, not so highly recommended. Everything else, though, it sound from the Trestle Bakery and Cafe to that Crafty Rooster that I heard about. I think that those were great places. Next time, we just need to be aware and to make reservations probably weeks ahead of time instead of just trying to walk in off the street the night that we are wanting to eat. So that was bad on our part. So we will fix that if we go back and do this race again. Okay. So that's the deal on the Halloween hustle in Conway, South Carolina, between the costumes and the music and the decorations. This race was just pure joy from the start to the finish. Everyone was there to have fun, even though there were some very competitive people that they were there to get their PRs. They got their PR and they rang the PR bell. Everyone was there just soaking in the Halloween spirit between the best costumes, the little kids, the race food, everything. The energy was contagious. Everyone was just there to have the best time, giving high fives to folks on the runs, the crowd support, everything. For a small town race in Conway, South Carolina, I was floored at how well this whole race production went off. Just great job. Coastal Race Productions, if you ever listen to this podcast, good job. You're setting the standard. Okay, guys. So from the pre-dawn decorations showing up, like when the sun isn't even, like it's just starting to lighten the sky, and all of the skeletons are all done up and they're all purple. And you look down Main Street and all of their giant trees have pumpkins all the way into the very tip tops of the trees with orange lights and purple lights strung. Huge Halloween town party in the center of the town square. Holy cow, guys. It was just the glow-in-the-dark medals, the awesome race t-shirt. The Halloween hustle in Conway, South Carolina was the perfect mix of fun and challenge. So if you are looking for a fall race in the Southeast that's organized, that's full of heart, this is absolutely one that you add to. In fact, we might add it to our list again. So we will see. Anyway, great race, and hope you guys enjoyed the explanation as much as I enjoyed doing it. Okay, if you have ever ran a Halloween-themed race or one that you think is a must-do, send me a message, because I would love to go out and experience other races like this. Like, we do the Spooktacular every year in Huntsville, and we do like a group costume and everything. But it is so much fun to do these little races. So if you know of one out there, it doesn't have to be like in the Southeast, like it doesn't have to be in Alabama. Dang, we drove 9 hours. Do you know we're 9 hours? 9 hours, if you're listening, takes you out to Kansas City, back of the pack. So if you know of any like Halloween cool races like this, hit me up, because this was so stinking fun. I just want to do more. Okay. Speaking of races, let's talk about some upcoming local races to the Huntsville area. All right, October 18th, get your pink out, because the Liz Hurley Ribbon Run 5K, the funnest 5K in Huntsville, is coming up. Followed by October 25th, the Helping Hands Half Marathon and 5K. On November 1st, the Knights of Columbus Tootsie Roll 5K and Fun Run. On November 8th, the Huntsville Half Marathon. November 22nd is the Dam Bridge Run 10K. The 30th brings us the Diddle Landing 10K. They always have those great hoodie sweatshirts. And the penultimate race of Huntsville on December 13th, the Rocket City Marathon Weekend. All right, folks, so that's your weekend wrap up, the fun, festive Halloween hustle in Conway, South Carolina. If you would, head over, and if you haven't done it yet, check out Behind the Bib podcast on Instagram. I still got some little tiny baby numbers over there, and it's like I'd love to show my kids and say, see, people like it. Anyway, go over there, give a follow. Behind the Bib on Facebook. I post all kinds of stuff on Facebook throughout the week, in addition to updates about the episodes as they drop, and Behind the Bib podcast on YouTube, where you can see the whole full episode, as long as I didn't screw it up in post-production, which that has been done once or twice. Sorry, folks. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for being here. Let's keep showing up for one another, whether you are first, whether you are last, or whether you are somewhere in between. I will see you next time. We're Behind the Bib. Y'all take care. Bye-bye. You've been listening to Behind the Bib, where we have real talk for every runner.